single digits.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 meeting of the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Service Board. Happy to say that it's a beautiful day outside, a little bit of a August chill in the air, but that's nice and low humidity. The mayor is absent with notice. He's an AMO, but all the other board members are present. So that's, I guess, number one, the roll call taken care of. Number two is the approval of the agenda, and the recommendation is that the August 20th, 2024 Police Services Board meeting agenda be approved as circulated. Do we have a mover? Moved by Member Wiersma, seconded by Deputy Chair Hall. All those in favor, and that is passed. Any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, the reading and the correction and or approval of minutes. 4.1, general meeting minutes, June 25th, 2024. Recommendation of the minutes of June 25th, 2024 general meeting of the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Services Board be approved as written. Moved by Minika Hahn, seconded by Matt Hall. All those in favor, that is approved. This moves us to number 5, communications, and there are quite a few of them. And are there any that members would like to pull out for discussion? Is there any items here? Member Hahn?
5, 1.4, 5, 1.5, and 5, 1.7.
All right, and Member Wiersma?
511, 512, 513, 515. You can mention that one.
Okay.
Anyway, I got a bunch of them.
You got a bunch. Okay.
Some
well, then
of
let's just go with the recommendation then that the communication items 5.1 and 5.2 be received for information, and then we'll just move through them. Moved by Member Hahn, second by Member Hall. All those in favor? Fantastic. That's carried. And so we'll move on to 5.1.1. Member Hahn, you wanted to speak to that?
I think it was Member Wiersma.
Member Wiersma?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just, this prosecution pilot, First Nation, can you just explain this a little bit, Mark, and how does it affect us?
Certainly. Good morning, all, and through the chair to Member Wiersma. Certainly with, it looks like all of the correspondences, I may speak longer than Joe Biden did.
Okay, I'll retract the question.
Yeah, so in relation to correspondence 5.1.1, earlier in the year, the province engaged in a pilot project to engage in prosecution of First Nation laws. So this is something you see more common or regularly in First Nation communities. There are First Nation laws that run, I'll refer to them as parallel to, say, federal or provincial laws, that in several First Nation communities, leaders in those communities feel a greater obligation to have a community member be tried under a First Nation law as opposed to a provincial law or a federal law. So this program really is prioritizing having First Nation communities be or have the availability to be prosecuted under a First Nation law as opposed to a law of either Canada or a provincial act.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And let's go through the 5.12. Did someone want to speak to that? That was Member Wiersma.
Do we have people interested in this? And if so, it looks to me like the kind of job where you don't want people here going there because we're going to lose good people.
So
Let's just remember our microphones, people.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. You want to say it again?
That's fine.
Okay.
So through the chair to Member Wiersma. So any of these opportunities that come available for, I'll refer to this as a secondment opportunity, we certainly look at, we review, we assess if we have a member who sort of fits the criteria. We do look at these opportunities more from a lateral transfer opportunity for some of our members, just so that we have doors available for them to go through to, you know, expand on their personal or professional abilities. I don't think that we're going to make someone available for this, but we do have Constable Shute, who is our intelligence designated member, who sits as a regional committee member. So he would be aware of the role of this person, but we're not looking to put someone forward for this secondment position.
Thank you.
5.13.
Are we applying?
So again, through the chair to member Wiersma, I spoke to Director Dakin from the finance department, who has been really, has carriage or oversight over the NG 911 program. They are working on it, and the submission is due Friday. So they will be submitting. The first 2 rounds, they were successful in both those applications. So we'll, fingers crossed, hope to receive some additional funding in this 3rd round.
Thank you again.
9.14. Member Hahn.
My question, it wasn't really a question, it was a comment on both 5.14 and 5.15. I feel that consumers don't know some of these new regulations, and I wondered if there was an opportunity for us to maybe provide this information on the towing and storage to, let's say, the Age Dispatch or the Banner, so that more people would be aware. Often when they're under pressure in an accident or something, people don't necessarily know those rules, but maybe if they've been made aware of them, that they would have better insight as to what their rights are. And so for both 5.14 and 5.15, I know we can put it on Facebook and let's say messaging in that manner, but I think we should also maybe complement it with a written document. I think if we submitted it to the Age Dispatch, which comes out free to everyone in our area, it might be something people would pick up and read. So I know, like in 5.1.5, the automated vehicle permit license renewal, I was quite surprised to hear that the Ministry of Transportation is making attempts to renew plates that have expired from years previous even. Like, some people may not be aware of that, so I thought that was good. And then my only question, maybe you can comment on it, is to our chief. Will, under 5.1.5, will this result in reduced charges overall? Have your officers been quite active with expired license plates?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, I'll just unpack some of the questions or comments made there. So certainly we would and will undertake a review of the Towing and Storage Safety and Enforcement Act Education and Awareness Period piece to make some public announcement regarding that. As you sort of led through that comment, it sort of made me think that perhaps even if we engaged with one of our local towing companies to have them part of the storytelling so that they can explain what requirements they now have to meet and what impacts it's having on their industry. Again, I propose to know a lot, but not everything, and I don't often want to speak for industries outside of policing. In regards to the 5.1.5, there certainly has been a lot of messaging by the province on the permits, and this is going back to taking away the requirement to buy the stickers for your plates, right, on an annual or biannual basis. So they've tried to obviously make it simpler for motorists in the province of Ontario, that you don't have to go in and purchase the sticker, put the sticker on your plate. They are basically renewing plates automatically if you do not have an outstanding fine or if you're not suspended. You referenced that they went back to, I think it was 2020, plates that had not been registered and tried to do a massive sort of update of all of those plates. It's funny that the 2020 period sort of aligns with when the pandemic was here. So that has sort of been undertaken. In relation to your question, has it impacted our enforcement? I see this move as actually streamlining, and because we have the automated license plate readers on all of our uniform cars, the notices or the hits that we're getting on through that system are now the actual offenses of probably suspended drivers, unvalidated permits. So it's kind of narrowing the gap and actually giving us, if I use a fishing analogy, it's actually giving us the fish that we're willing to sort of bring into the boat as opposed to throwing back into the pond. So it is streamlining things. And I will say this, that these actions by the province, I don't think there's any coincidence that we're also on the verge of an election cycle, and this is all meant to make, I think, life easier for Ontarians, especially those who are using the road system.
Thank you very much.
5.16, Member Russo.
Could you explain this a little bit more, please? Oops. Could you explain this a little bit more, please?
So through the chair to Member Wiersma. So the Provincial Bail Compliance Dashboard is a application that was first developed by the Toronto Police Service along with the Durham Regional Police Service. It's a system, a software system that is fed by police services, giving information of people who have been arrested and charged and are currently out on bail for certain types of offenses, generally firearm related offenses, but the list is growing a little bit more. After the tragic shooting of an OPP member, I think it was 2 years ago, there was quite a push by police leaders in the province and really across the country to catch the ear of the federal government to reform bail reform, how people were getting out on bail. A byproduct of that was that provincially the OPP took over the provincial or the bail dashboard application from Toronto and Durham so that it would be more accessible provincially. So this has been ongoing for about 16 months now, where the OPP, along with technology people from within the province, have been developing this provincial dashboard or software application that will be accessible to any police service in the province. In my previous role as the board chair for Optic, which is our records management system cooperative, our service was asked to be one of the 12 services to be the pilot agencies to test this programming out. We're about a month away from activating it here locally. So it'll be an additional tool that uniformed members will have that will alert them to when a person is in our community is out on certain bail conditions. If you've ever seen a pinpoint on a map where the little bubbles show up, it's that type of software. It'll give pictures of the person out on bail. It'll give conditions that they're out on, and it's a real investigative benefit for our members to recognize and to see when we potentially have people in our community either residing here or who are involved in occurrences here that we might otherwise not sort of recognize or see.
Sounds good, thanks.
5.17. If you want to speak to that, Member
Just a quick question, Mark. How do you monitor this with police officers? Like, I presume each of them have to go through this?
So again, through the chair to member. So this training is made available on a online portal that our agency, along with most agencies in the province, have access to. So as part of our professional development and training opportunities, some of it is in-person training, but we also have availability to online training. This course in particular is offered through the online portal. So as an organization, we will make it a requirement that every member take the training, and then there is obviously a log of when the training was taken, when it was completed, and then those credentials are added to every member's ongoing personnel record.
Good, thank you.
5.18? Oh, yes.
I just wanted to ask a question also. Thank you for that update. I know it's been online since May 1st. Do you feel most of your police officers have taken it, Chief Campbell?
Through the chair to Member Hahn, no, we haven't pushed that out yet. We tend to, especially with the summer season,
Yes.
it's kind of hit and miss. So if we set a deadline and then all of a sudden the member is maybe not around, so we tend to sort of wait till the fall or the springtime.
Sure.
To push out some of these online training opportunities.
As a follow-up, would your civilian members take it? Is it mandatory, and could the board members take it?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, the last question is a good one, which I'm not sure the answer on. And I haven't dove into the aspects about our civilian members. All of our members, civilian and sworn, have access to the online training portal. So it is something that we could look at, and if if we deem that there is enough value, make it available for them. I will sort of put an asterisk beside that last question, and if board members, I don't believe that the board members would have access to the online portal, but under the new act, I'm not sure if there is training opportunities such as this that are available for board meetings. I know that we have our advisor here, maybe can answer.
This is your area.
So as you recall, when we moved into the CSPA, each of you were required to complete training by a certain deadline. That is not the end of the training. There's more elements that are coming, and I think this particular topic will be covered in that training when it does get rolled out.
Okay, very good, thank you.
5.1.8. Any questions there? 5.1.9. Trying to recall. 5.1.10. Member Wiersma.
To Mark, I am curious, how do they determine to up the miles per hour on the highways? Because I'm just kind of curious, are we going to wind up going to 120? Because it just seems to me, and this was really noticeable to me going to Michigan and being out in the States. There's a lot of places where it's 80 miles an hour, okay? And so we're not even near that. How does the Ministry of Transportation or whoever decides that to up these rates?
So through the chair to Member Wiersma, if I was paid as a comedian, I would say a coin flip or a dartboard, but that's probably not the right answer. I think through studies, reviews, remembering that the Ministry of Transportation obviously is very well equipped and staffed with engineers who obviously study not only speeds and what impacts that will have, but they're also experts in their road construction, composition, understanding how their roads are designed, what speeds are appropriate for those roadways. As you'll see in this correspondence, these are all 400 series highways. Anyone who's done any traveling in the last couple of years, I think, has seen the impact and the commitment that the province has made to upgrading a lot of our 400 series highways as far as widening, resurfacing. So I think there's a lot of different inputs that go into how they determine what is an appropriate speed limit. I will say anecdotally that 110, you're still probably on the low end as far as if you're traveling at that speed on the 400 series highway. You'll have people going by you left and right.
Thanks.
5.1.11. Speaking to that. And then 5.1.12. Anyone speaking to that? Okay, and we have accepted all those for information. And then 5.20 PSB notice of meeting for Zone 6. We had also accepted that item of information. Case number 6, the review of monthly police service reports. And a recommendation that the monthly reports 6.1 to 6.6 be received for information. Do we have a mover? Moved by Deputy Chair Hall and seconded by Member Ursula. All those in favor? Thank you very much. We'll move on to 6.1 monthly activity reports, and we'll go to the Chief on this. Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Again, probably in the sake of time, since we bypassed the July meeting, and this meeting actually draws in reports both from June and July. The reports there are in front of you, and certainly maybe I'll just pause and take any questions if any of the members have any specific questions or comments or concerns in regards to any of the information.
Oh, fantastic, thank you. So are there any questions about item 6.11 or 6.12? Member Hahn.
Okay, I have a question, or I have two questions, Chief. In June, the CID report brought forward about that fraudulent bank draft of $27,500 for, I think it was an ATV and a trailer, and it said the suspect was still at large. I wondered if that suspect had been found. I know the person was not of this area, but committed that crime in this area, and maybe some comments from you on, like all of us. I know we've sold a vehicle before, and you get a bank draft or you get a certified check, you hope it's correct. I know one thing we did was we asked for a copy of their driver's license, but are there some other comments you would bring forward for protection of consumers with bank drafts?
So through the chair to Member Hahn. I don't have an update on the status of the investigation. I know that Sergeant Cartwright had carriage of the investigation, and as sort of outlined in the report, had been working with, I think, both Toronto Police Service and North Region in regards to other similar types of occurrences this suspect was involved in that area. In regards to informing and providing information to victims or community members before they become victims, these are challenging because some of the people who are committing these offenses have refined their strategies so that documents they produce, whether it's a money order or a certified check, to the naked eye are hard to detect at times. I think that, as a seller of an item, you have an obligation to do some due diligence. I think that if you meet the person, I think it needs to probably occur in person. I would never do a transaction without ever meeting or seeing a person face to face. We certainly are encouraging and would invite that if you needed to do a transaction in person, our facility is always open. It's always available for those opportunities. I think that acts as a deterrent because I don't think that most criminal types are that interested in showing up at a police facility to participate in a fraudulent activity. Certainly asking for government issued ID and recording that, whether that's taking a picture with your own phone, photocopying it, doing something. If it still leads to a fraudulent activity occurring, at least you have created or started to gather some evidence that may be of value to an investigation that might be undertaken after that. And then, as my grandmother used to always say, follow your gut, and if your gut doesn't sort of make you feel right about something, you're probably heading down the right path.
Thank you. I had one more question, and it was under the uniform crime. I noticed that, contrary to most communities, our auto theft has really decreased in 2024. There's only 9 year to date, and I wondered what that difference is versus other communities.
So again, through the chair to member Han. First of all, I think it starts with a lot of the good work that our uniform members are doing. So traditionally, a lot of our vehicle thefts have been vehicles that are targeted as mid-2000 type pickup trucks. That tended to be the preferred model or make of vehicles that we were losing in this community. And a lot of them, when recovered, it was the sum of the parts are worth more than the whole, if I use that analogy, where we would get a vehicle recovered, but it might be missing catalytic converters, tires, a tailgate, a dashboard. So the thieves, what they're doing is the parts are worth more than the entirety of the vehicle. So it's not like they're stealing a vehicle, putting it in a crate and sending it overseas. The age of these vehicles, generally they're pickup trucks, the value is in the parts that make up the truck. So our uniform members have been very diligent, particularly on our night shifts, about making sure that they are very active in those areas where we were losing a lot of vehicles, which is in Caradoc area, particularly Mount Bridges or south, a lot of rural properties. So we really increased our presence along some of the rural roads late at night. Again, imagining between, say, 11 at night and 4 or 5 in the morning, there's not a lot of vehicle traffic. So anytime that we were seeing vehicles, we were engaging and stopping those vehicles to ensure that they weren't stolen or the wrong people using them. That, in addition to our service, along with a lot of our other partners, local partners, the OPP, St. Thomas, have been very focused on ensuring that the targets that we knew were involved in vehicle thefts, that we focused on trying to find them, trying to commit to, when available, charging them with applicable offenses. And a lot of those people have been in custody for a fair amount of time now. So it's kind of a mix of those two approaches, but it's had a fairly substantial or positive impact on reducing those vehicle thefts. The third element, because I'm sure that we've all seen and heard in the news and the issues that are going on in the GTA, those types of vehicle thefts, maybe this is where I pause and knock on wood, haven't really prevailed here. We haven't seen that level or that focus on high-end vehicles being targeted here. That's not to say that we're immune to it, but that has generally sort of stayed in the, I'll call it the GTA area.
Okay, thank you.
Member Wiersma.
Just a question, Mark. This is in connection with activity report, and my memory is going. So every time I read this, I go, you know, under criminal code, federal statutes, provincial statutes, I'm always kind of wondering, what are those things? You know what I mean? Like if there was a handout or something with those names there, say, this is what this is. A criminal code is blah, blah, blah. If that's something you can do, fine. If you can't, explain it.
Yeah, on the bottom of the report.
Yeah, and it's more because, you know, like this is 2 months that have gone by. Like I say, my memory's not getting any better, so to have this would be handy.
So through the chair to member Roos. So criminal code, obviously federal law, encompasses things such as thefts, frauds, assaults, harassment, obviously enacted by the federal government. Federal statutes really relate to, in our case here locally, drug charges. It can relate to obviously more serious things, some of the terrorism type offenses. Luckily we don't obviously dabble in those a whole lot. But when you're looking at the federal statutes in this table, they really refer to drug-related offenses. Provincial statutes, probably the easiest way I can explain this, if I can stick a ticket in your head, it's probably a provincial offense. So road offenses, liquor offenses, trespassing offenses, again, all legislation that is created at the provincial level. Bylaw, obviously self-explanatory, relates to noise, property standards, animal type complaints. Again, legislation that, or acts that are created here at the local level by the municipal council.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for that. 6.2, community services reports. Any questions on these items today? Seeing none, moving on to overtime reports, item 6.3. Any question on overtime under 6.3? Member Wiersma?
Back to 6.2. Just curious, Mark. Noise, Caradoc Sands.
Again, through the chair to Member Wiersma. So this is an issue that has sort of been brought forward in the last 2 or 3 years, related to generally weekend type events, particularly weddings, that a lot of local residents have expressed concerns about. So we have worked along with the bylaw enforcement, the fire prevention, along with alcohol commission, and staff at Caradoc Sands, to try to minimize the impact that it is having on the local community or the local subdivisions nearby. So it's an ongoing process, but it's taken a path where we feel if we work in collaboration and provide ongoing education about how we mediate those things, we're hopefully getting to a point where you know, both the business and the local residents can find a solution that is workable for both.
Not easy, thanks.
Thank you for that. Item 6.4, use of force reports. Any questions under 6.4? Moving on to 6.5, PPA report, freedom of information. Any questions under 6.5? And 6.6, budget updates. Any questions on the budget updates that are provided here so far? Member Hahn.
I had 2 questions, and one was in regards to the nice proceeds of the NG 911, the $1.4 million. And I know that's likely proceeds from over a number of years. What happens? Does that capital surplus maybe go to reserves for the new building? What accountability or what direction does the board take in that surplus. So, like, that's huge, that 1.14 revenue.
So through the chair to Member Hahn, so this refers back to one of the correspondences, the NG 911 funding. So these were funds that through that grant application, Director Dakin and the IT manager Matt Payne were successful in applying for those grants to help or aid in the implementation of the NG 911. So I believe a lot of those funds will be utilized in that process.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not anticipating that you will see extra funds left over after the implementation is completed. You're looking at hardware devices, you're looking at software applications, ongoing security requirement documents. And so the funding that has been made available, and as we spoke about earlier in this meeting, there is a third round of funding that will also be made available. And then one other area, there is a staffing position that has been supported in those applications. And so those are ongoing expenses that we're seeing.
The reason for my question was I was trying to look to see about the expenses in the budget. Where could I see that? Where is it covered? Or is it potentially not in the capital expense budget? Or is it it's part of the funds we've received and will be utilized in 2025?
Yeah, so through the chair to Member Hahn, I guess maybe I'm a little bit surprised that the funding, like the revenue, is showing up in this budget, in that the municipality has taken on the ownership of and the responsibility for the NG 911 program. So the grant application, again, was done sort of outside of I'll call it our regular budget. So the revenue showing up, there aren't expenses related to the NG 911 on our budget.
I understand. So it's under the municipal budget and maybe inadvertently brought forward here. Okay.
I would think that is correct, but I can have that conversation with the director.
Sure. That's good. Thank you. My second question was, and maybe I don't know about our portion, the police services budget portion of the strategic plan. Have we received that final bill? Will it be allocated under the board expenses? And was it within, I think we put forward maybe, was it around 20,000? I don't see it in yet, but possibly it hasn't been allocated. And maybe if you talk to the finance director, could you ask him that question?
Yeah, so again, through the chair to Member Hahn, it does appear it was in the other professional cost, which is in the board general expenses. The last five are 50010. And you'll see that it hasn't been expensed out yet.
No, that's what I thought.
And so I think you'll remember that in that process, there was both the municipality and the police service board did sort of what I'll refer to as a joint RFP. And I haven't seen that invoice come through. Again, that's an inquiry I can make with either the finance director or the CIO.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to other business, and I think Deputy Chair, pardon me, was there, Henry, I'm sorry, Henry Wiersma, you have a question, sir.
Just a question under budget, July uniform salary. What are hire-ons and who are they?
So again, through the chair to Member Wiersma. So we have a revenue section for hire-ons and an expense section for hire-ons. So that refers to any contracted request. The example I'll give you, putting new streetlights in at Metcalf and Head. So the vendor who is installing those may require the presence of police for 2 or 3 hours while they need assistance having traffic stopped. So what they will do is they will make a request for a paid duty or a hire-on. We have minimal hours, so I think it's minimum 4 hours to hire an officer. It can include both the member and a vehicle, and there is a rate established for that. So that company, instead of relying on a regular member who is scheduled for a regular shift and might be taken away from community patrol, we offer an opportunity where a corporation or a vendor can offer or pay for a member to come in, work for a designated period of time. We invoice them for that time, member and vehicle, and then they pay that. So it shows up as revenue, and then to correspond, we show the expense on the other side.
Thank you again.
All right then, thank you. It's actually still another business, but it all kind of, there's a theme here, and I think what we're going to do is ask that Deputy Chair Matt Hall, if he can walk us through it. I know it's stuck in my head, but and you guys will Tracy. Well, I'll let you talk about these if you wish.
Perfect, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was gonna kind of combine 1, 2, and 4 together because they're all kind of related. As was said a couple meetings ago, a few of us went to the OA PSB conference, learned some new stuff about the new CSPA, and a big thing was the requirements for each board to have their own diversity plan, policy and procedures in place for board members as well as the board. So I think, yeah, just had to have a talk about where we are with that. I believe the Secretary was getting some copies from other boards, if that was correct.
So actually, I did, and I forwarded one to HR. So Doug's been working. I'll let Doug speak on it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you through the chair to Member Hahn, or Member.
I know.
So indeed, Jennifer did. I understand 2025. The new policies need to be enforced. So it is definitely on my docket within HR. We've seen a few. I'll just make some comments. Some of them are very, very complex. Not just a policy, programs like. Some of the services that supplied, they're pretty elaborate. So maybe further direction from the board on, do you want to see just a standalone policy or do you want a program with it? Because that will dictate on how elaborate the policy actually is. So, but I do have some examples to reference. We can go back to the board. So.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, as far as a huge program goes, I'm not sure if we have the size of board that really requires a huge program. I'm not sure if anybody else has any thoughts, but maybe kind of a summary of what you think might be most appropriate for like a bare bones policy to meet the requirements. We can go from there.
Yeah, and I was going to ask a question to Ron LeClaire. Is there going to be another training module probably addressing this for board members as well that'll be of some guidance to us, or are we going to see some requirements from the province here that guide us as to what to do?
Regarding 7.1, I think 7.1 regarding the diversity plan really falls to the municipality and not the board. So it's unlikely that there'll be any training coming with regard to that.
Okay, thank you. So then I guess if we go to Director Payne, then I guess we'll be looking at something from the municipality. Member Hahn.
And I support that, going to the municipality and then maybe carving out our policy, whether it's exactly the same or not. But I know that we had at that convention that we went to, York Region brought forward their diversity plan and policy and how they came upon some of their stats or what was developed in their policy. And what they did look at, and I thought that was important for us to do in our community also, is they looked at data. So geographic data, demographic data, For instance, police services, they looked at female, male, percentages, years of service. So some data collection to kind of ensure that, you know, we can have diversity or inclusion or, you know, those equity wording, but we also need to make sure that reflects our community and our police services. So I thought maybe, and I was just thinking about it, the last Canadian census report, was that 2021 or 2022? I can't recall. The census report.
2021.
2021, that's what I thought. But maybe that already geographically for our area provides some data also. So I think to accompany just a policy, I would want to see it with some data that would reflect or could maybe be used or brought forward. And I would like, and I do agree maybe with the municipality, that there would be some training and education on how we work with that policy after. But I know it's not due till July 2025, but the time just keeps on moving on, right? So yeah, I look forward to, you know, having a little bit of information on that.
So, Member Hall, thank you for that. And did you want to move on to 7.2?
So, well, 1, 2, and 4 I kind of brought together. 3, yeah, the board staff was the other one I was going to keep separate. There was some discussion at the conference with other board members from other municipalities. Some of the bigger boards have their own dedicated full-time or part-time board staff. There was talk amongst us that were there if you know, if that was a requirement for us, so we can open that up for discussion. Personally, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we have the size or the workload to justify hiring full-time members. If anybody else wanted to speak to it, I'd welcome that.
Well, as chair, I'll say one thing before I go to Member Hahn. I know that council, member of council and member of the police board, we've always tried to explore efficiencies and synergies to use municipal staff in the most efficient manner possible, and at the same time balance that with taking care of or assisting or supporting the administrative activities of the police force. And just before I go to Member Hahn, maybe I'll ask the chief to comment on the efforts made over the years between the municipality and the police, the administration of the police force, to find these efficiencies or synergies, and you know, whether or not we're there yet in terms of setting up, if you will, a parallel administration at the police building, and not then having our municipal staff take care of things that they're currently dealing with, if you follow what I'm saying.
I believe I do. So to the chair. So historically, so prior to Jen occupying the secretary for the board role, there was a position held by a non-municipal staff member. The person actually was hired by the board for the role of board secretary. I think as the municipal fabric grew, there was an interest to bring that member into the municipal side of the workforce, and that was done for a very, I'll call it a short period of time, and then that person left the organization. I think a challenge that you would have having someone from the police service, an employee of the police service, sitting as the board secretary is you have someone from one of the bargaining units working for the board, and the challenges or the strains that potentially put on that relationship. I think that there is value in a staff member from the municipality being here, but also being fully appreciative of balancing their day-to-day obligations in addition to the additional work from the board. And again, I haven't had this conversation certainly with Jed, but you know, what additional stressors or strains are being put on her time or Melanie's time, you know, and where are we at in that journey?
Thank you for that, Member Hall.
Yes, and I also attended that session, and one of the things that they really brought forward in that session was that there's two parts to this staff role. One is administrative support, like meeting minutes and records and scheduling and agendas. But they said a second part, which was also very important, was decision support for the board. And they referenced, like for instance, the new CSPA Act that's coming out, and making sure the policies are in place, and that a person like that would be looking at policy development, evaluation. They could be a person that would be an expert maybe in helping with the bargaining, the grievances, policy research, development, strategic planning, that type of idea that they said it is becoming more and more required that the board should also invest in themselves. And it's a comment that was brought forward was, the smaller the board, the more important staff are to you, however counterintuitive as that may seem to them. So I thought maybe, just as I was thinking, maybe starting off with a job description, and I think Jen would have maybe some of the factors that she does and a little bit of time allocated to the administrative part, and then maybe we could see, and this is a board discussion, do we need further support in other aspects? And I'm not saying we do, but I think a good thing to start with is a job description, and maybe there is one already. I don't know that.
Did the clerk want to comment?
I'm actually going to refer that to HR.
Thank you. HR, here we go. Bouncing around the table, over to HR.
Through the chair to Member Hahn. So great discussions. So is there a job description from the previous position? Yes, there is. It needs to be updated if that be the will of the board. If I can comment just on HR's involvement, there's obviously there's a lot of support from obviously the clerk's office and secretary responsibilities, etc. From an HR perspective, my involvement or our involvement with the police services, we work very well with the chief. So I'll start at labor. I'm the lead negotiator for the bargaining of the two civilian and uniform agreements. We collect data. We get a lot with Jennifer, reaching out to different boards and getting collective agreements and the ratification data, etc. So that's from the labor relations side. Grievances, arbitrations, we take the lead on that. We're taking them, working with legal counsel and internally ourselves, and we manage that process, grievances, with the chiefs, of course, as well. Then there's a payroll and benefits side. We provide that service of payroll benefits. William processes everything. And the other half of that, there's a lot to it. The claims management side, from WSIB and non-occupational claims management, that's fairly extensive. Probably more so police services than municipal, quite honestly, of our involvement in our time spent managing claims and whatnot, because they can be time consuming, WCB or not. So we cover a lot of elements. So why I say that is going back to what Chief Campbell mentioned, the previous role, there was a part-time police secretary. We're doing a lot of that element ourselves in HR now. Whereas in the past, I believe that role, a lot of those responsibilities was there. Right or wrong of it, we're doing that for the hopefully for the board. I have no issues doing that. It's taxing because we have both sides, municipal and police, of course. So I I think the synergies are good, but definitely the direction of the board. You mentioned, Member Hahn, about the growing, as boards grow and services grow, you may need to add layers and what have you. So that's just the current state. I think it's important that you know that.
And possibly then maybe as a next step, and I so agree, being efficient within the municipal and the support that Jen brings is fabulous, but maybe even just from our standpoint, having a job description, maybe that Jen supports these functions, there's IT involvement, there's finance. So maybe we should be aware of all the support the board receives from the municipality, and then the direct support from Jen, and just at least be aware of that. So I don't think it's a rush, but maybe a job description, and the previous one is a good start.
Thank you for that. Ron LeClaire, you have a comment, and then Member Bursma.
Yeah, so in terms of Member Hahn's request regarding a job description, I just was involved in this process that another board was undertaking that you're now discussing, and I assisted them by providing a couple of different job descriptions from different places. So very much willing to assist by providing that to the chair if that's of value to you. The one thing that I think I want to assist you a little bit here in terms of clarity of what the board would be looking at if they're looking at board staff. You'd be looking at staff for the sole purposes of governance support, not HR,
Yes.
not claims responsibilities, all those things that fall to the municipality, because those are costs that are borne by the municipality. This would simply be somebody that provides governance support, agenda prep, research on issues, and you can go a multitude of ways. The most simplest way is to have a member that's solely employed by the board. The chief makes a really good point about if the person actually is an employee of the service. There's some conflict there. This would be somebody that's solely employed by the board for the purposes of giving governance support. So yeah, again, not trailing into all that administrative work that the municipality does. There's a multitude of examples out there. Executive director is something that is, at the higher end, such as like a London or a Halton, those types of agencies. But then others have board secretaries who are employed by the board, and they provide the rudimentary requirements of board governance, if that assists.
Member Bursma.
If things are working real well now, I would hate to go down the road of more administrative time and money, because this is everybody is in uproar about administrative costs, whether it's in education, whether it's municipality, or whether it's at even our board. It seems to me everything is working really well. Doug has just said he doesn't mind doing what he's doing. If I can be shown there's a phenomenal stress level, they're not getting paid enough, too much time is going in on this, and this, I need to hear a good rationale why we would change.
Agreed. I mean, a comment from the chair would be that we seem to have a model in Strathroy-Caradoc that is working, and until otherwise, if we're in compliance with the changes that are being made, then maybe there's no need to change it. Anyway, over to Member Pollock, if there's some more items you want to talk about.
Nope, that was the bit. I think that covers it. Wondering though, do we need to make a motion to ask HR to come forward with the job description? Yeah.
Well, that would be a motion. Just did that. I
Yeah.
don't know how you want to word it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to direct HR to come up with an updated job description for board secretary, using whatever resources Ron was going to send over in the old job descriptions, whatever they see fit.
All right, do we have a second for that? Member Bursma, any discussion? All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. So I guess that does, oh, Member Han?
I just wanted to ask on 7.2, where do we find the current policies and procedures for board members? The current one.
I don't believe we have current policy and procedures. That's what was the new requirement of the CSPA, I believe. Ron, would you be able to speak to that? Is that a new requirement? There wasn't one before?
No, it's not a new requirement. Policies and procedures under the PSA and how boards govern themselves should exist. But certainly there's, under the CSPA, there's a new imperative to make sure that you have policies and procedures in place.
I think the chief might want to comment on that. Did you want to comment, chief?
I do, yes, thanks. So a couple years ago, we engaged Dave Preston. Ron will know who Dave is. Dave was, in a previous life, was the chief of Saugeen Shores. I guess prior to that, probably Port Elgin. I think is where he first started.
And served as an advisor.
And then after his retirement, moved into the advisory realm of things. Anyways, we engaged him. He rewrote all of our policies and procedures internally for the organization. And I just wanted to make a comment that I think he was making himself available because he acts on behalf of not only our service, but he works for Owen Sound, Saugeen Shores, Hanover, West Grey. I believe Stratford is maybe now under his portfolio. So he is making board policies, I believe. And so there is an access point there that I can certainly, through Jen, make a contact so that he may have policies in development that could assist the board in meeting that threshold. I do believe that there is a inventory of board policies that were previously created.
Yeah, there has to be somewhere.
I'm sure, I can't think of them, but.
And so,
Yeah. I was just pointing out to me that in terms of the municipality has a procedural bylaw and the police board falls underneath that. So if we were to take a look at the way meetings are run and such, if you want to clarify that for me.
Yeah, as far as meetings are run,
As far as how meetings are run.
but in addition to, and I do have the board policies.
Yeah, board members to see that or have the links to the appropriate documents so they can access them. Which is, but we've been abiding by them all the way, so. Okay, I guess that does it for other business. Are we into 8 reports from departments? 8.1. Let's see, transfer from Sussex County PSAP to SCPS update summary POL 2024-19. Recommendation that the board receive report POL 2024-19 for information. Do we have a mover? Member Hall, seconded by Member Griezmann. All those in favor? Carried. Is there any discussion on that item? This is basically section for information. Inquiries or comments by members?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, Member Hahn,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I had a few comments because if I'm correct, we're going to approve this as a board once it's complete. Chief, is that correct? It's still in the progress stages, and you've brought forward a draft for us to review. And then because the board does sign off on it, we will get a final and an approval?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, so this is an agreement between obviously the board and Middlesex County, who is representing the lower tier municipalities. I know County Council has approved their portion of the agreement. So it is being brought forward to the board for their review and approval.
Approval, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have to approve it. So I had some comments on it, and it's only comments I had. How will this be evaluated? I know they have a technical advisory committee, and they have reports and minutes of the committee going to county council, but I did not see any to go to the chief or the board. Like, should our name not, or should those minutes, not that I want to see them, but should they not at least go to Chief Campbell? Also, should that wording not be in there under reports and minutes of that technical advisory committee? That they do not just go to county council, but they're also submitted to the chief on our behalf. I would.
If I may, through the chair, so I believe under 5.3, it gives a definition of what the Middlesex County 911 Technical Advisory Committee composition includes. And it does include representation from the police service.
Mm-hmm.
So through our participation, that we will report back to the board in regards to what that committee is reviewing and assessing the agreement.
I still feel that it should say, I know you're a member of the committee, but that those records, reports, and minutes are also brought forward to you, outlined in that. I'm just trying to, I don't have it right on hand where it says reports and minutes. You can take a look at it after, but I would like to suggest that you or it just says NPSB, because I think that's what they're referencing. Can you just see that anywhere? I don't want to take up a lot of time. I'll bring that forward for your review. The other one I had was in section 9.1. And it says by not held responsible for damages or delays as a result of war, invasion, demonstration, etc. I am surprised. I think a really major issue now is cyber attacks. Like, to me, that's almost a precedent or precedes like a war. Like, I can see something like that happening in this circumstance, and I just wondered if some of the word cyber attacks should now also be included under 9.0, that they will not be held responsible for any damages or delays. And I was looking at the delay part.
Chief, you care to comment?
So I know that the crafting of this agreement has been done under the legal review. So I would put my assumption that they have paid some attention to the currency of what issues or language are there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about the specifics of cyber in relation to that. It may be, somewhere else in other language in the agreement.
Member Hall.
Yeah, through you. I just see at the bottom of 9.1, it does say the last sentence is, as a result of any event that is beyond the county or Strathroy-Caradoc Police's reasonable control. So I'm assuming they put that line in to kind of be an all-inclusive. Anything they haven't thought of will kind of be covered in that.
I did notice that line, but I was just thinking cyber attacks are quite prevalent and they do delay services, that I just thought it may need a line in there. That was just a comment I had. And I'll just leave it for going forward. I was really pleased with the agreement. The revenue that has been brought forward, we talked about that. And I think it's a good, a really good program. And the only thing I wouldn't mind is an evaluation brought back to the board, maybe at the end of December. I know it's a 4-year term, but it's good to know that it is moving along very well. It doesn't need any other adjustments. We're happy with it. And I think that would be good to come back to the board, an evaluation of how the services are are going. It starts September 2nd, and I think the very first quarter was one rate, and it would be good to know if things are as you had anticipated.
If I may, excuse me, through the chair to Member Hunt, plan on arranging for our civilian communications supervisor, Crystal Holmes, to maybe attend in the December meeting. That'll give us about a 3-month review period. That, along with some other changes in the communication area, are occurring. Replacement of our dispatching consoles, kind of a reconfiguration of the room. So there's a lot that's going on there. And so it'll give us a chance to bring some review on how the first 3 months have gone.
Thank you for that, Chief. At this point, inquiries or comments by members. We'll start with.
Should we make a motion to accept the agreement?
Well, we said this is only for information tonight. We've already had the recognition and voted on the board received report for information.
I think Mark made a comment that he was hoping we would accept it. The county has accepted their already approved. So I just want to ask.
Okay, well, the agenda says that the board receives the report for information. We have done that through the chief. Is there an expectation that we do more than that at this meeting?
So through the chair, so it might be in reference to the formal agreement that has been crafted that requires the board approval so that we can continue on with the discussion. So the county has approved it, the agreement on their end. So it would require the board approve the agreement on their end or on your end.
And we're being asked to do that today?
Correct.
Okay, it's just that that's not on the agenda.
No.
Okay, so if Member Hahn would like to make that motion.
I make the motion that the board accept the agreement that has been brought forward to us, effective September 2nd.
Yeah, okay, do we have a seconder? Member Wiersma, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we accept for information and we accept. Very good. Inquiries or comments by members? We'll start with Member Hall.
None for me, thank you.
Member Wiersma, any inquiries or?
None for me, thank you.
Member Hahn, any inquiries?
I have none.
And I have none either. And Ron, do you have any? Do you want to say? Chief, do you have anything you want to say?
Just two really quick points. So I've crafted the budget for 2025, working again with Director Dakin. Our normal course is I try to meet with the board chair and the mayor, along with Director Dakin, prior to presenting it to the full board. My hope is to have that for the September meeting, so that we'll have a fulsome discussion at that point. And then my second request is I'm still working on completing the annual report. And so this is really a specific request to the board chair about probably utilizing your board chair comments that was maybe part of the strategic plan. If you would like to maybe make some amendments and then resend it back out, we can use that or include that in the annual report.
We will exchange emails on that item. Thank you. Member Hahn.
In regards to the chief's comments about budgets, one of the items that they did talk about at this convention was also the board budget. And are boards aware of their budgets? Should there be some extra dollars put in for CSPA rules and regulations? And they indicated that they should maybe be tracked. And I was wondering, Ron, do you think there's going to be some rebate coming to boards, or why would they ask us to track some of that in our budget?
So I don't think there's been any discussion at the ministry level about rebates, but it may be something that the OAPSB is considering requesting those costs. I know there's been discussion at the OACP level about the cost of implementation of the CSPA, so maybe they're mirroring that. But one of the things that, you know, in terms of what you might track is exactly what the chief talked about, is if you bring in Dave Preston to assist you, there's going to be a cost to that. That's really a board cost and not an operational cost of the service. So yeah, and that would be something that you hadn't anticipated when you did your board budget, right? So though it may be that the OAPSB is considering pressuring the government to assist boards with that.
Very good, thank you.
If I may, just to add on some additional comments to Ron's comments. I think when you look at the CSPA, there was some language in there that the ministry or the province would bore some of the costs associated with implementation of the new act, which is a pretty broad paint stroke. So there's probably a wide list of things that either services or boards may sort of look at collecting, whether the province is fully committed to paying for them. But that's a good example of an expense that you make here.
If there's rebates available, we certainly like to get them. Okay, thank you. We're moving on to number 10, in-camera matters. The board may move into closed session for the purpose of discussing the following: one item in accordance with the council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera minutes, and one item pursuant to section 44 2B of the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 as amended regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including members of the police service or any other employees of the board. Recommendation the board move into closed session at 11:17. So I will move for a seconder. Moved by member Hahn, seconded by member Hall, and so we are moving into camera now. I'll just wait for the signal from Okay, I'm using my microphone now at the back of open session. Open session will now resume, and the recommendation that the closed session did adjourn at about 11:31, and open session is now going to resume at about 11:32. And the report on the closed session is basically that the
It's a motion.
oh, you don't have to have a motion. Can I have a motion and that the session adjourned at 11:31, the open session resumes at 11:32. Got a mover Han, Hall, seconder, member Russo, all those in favor? Thank you, carried. I know, it's just lodged in my brain. Reporting the closed session. Recommendation that the direction of the closed session be approved. Moved by member Wiersma, seconded by member Hall. All those in favor? Approved. Scheduled meetings Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 10 a.m. And Tuesday, November 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Adjournment recommendation, the August 20th, 2024 Police Service Board meeting adjourned at 11:32. All those in favor? Everybody, it's unanimous. Moved by Han and Hall. Second, we're all good. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and for your participation. Everybody have a good day.